Hi everybody, this is Bookworm, and this is my 34th podcast and my second sort of video. It's static for a video. I'm still trying to figure out the mechanics of doing a whole interactive video. It's November 27th, 2019, and it is the day before Thanksgiving. Before I start, I just want to say if you want to reach out to me, the best way is through email. My email address is bookwormroom, all one word, bookwormroom@gmail.com. And of course, please visit my blog at bookwormroom.com. As I said, this is the day before Thanksgiving, and it is really a time to give thanks. It's my favorite holiday, and it's not just about the food. Years ago, I instituted a family tradition at our Thanksgiving table that asked everyone, after dinner of course, to state what he or she was thankful for. I thought I'd share with you the myriad things that make me thankful in 2019. I am thankful for friends and family. I am very blessed to be rich in both, and let me tell you, it was hard work on my part. When I was young, I was a prickly, judgmental, snobby person. Part of this was because I was bullied a lot for being short, skinny, nearsighted, a bookworm, that went with the nearsighted, and all around kind of weird. This is not a sob story. I'm not going to do some tearful thing about how I was bullied and yada, yada, yada. In the hierarchy of normal children's behavior, I was a walking target. Now that I've had kids of my own, there is a feral quality to kids, and someone like me, I stuck out. My response, because I'm a very verbal person, was to hit people back first, using words, not feet or fists. I became expert at nasty sarcasm, and ironically enough, the more I liked someone, whether it was a girl with whom I wished to be friends or a boy on whom I had a crush, the more nasty I was. It suited me to reject them first, rather than to have those objects of my social or romantic attraction reject me. The other part of why I was such an outsider was that I was raised by a very charming European mother, and I mimicked her behavior. However, what was charming in a 40-something European lady was not so charming in an American teenager. Also, I mimicked her less charming traits, so that I was judgmental and rigid beyond my years. In my teens, I read Dale Carnegie's timeless How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was first written in the 30s, and it's got a rather charming old-fashioned style if you read the original edition, but the message comes through loud and clear. We are responsible for who we are, and also being nice to people and honestly admiring their strengths and virtues will usually lead them to being nice and helpful to you. Someone once says, that's manipulative. Charles Manson liked that book too, and that's how he inveigled people into following him. Well, sociopaths and psychopaths are going to use every tool at their fingertips, but it doesn't mean that nice, ordinary people can't approach the world in a kinder, less judgmental, more loving fashion. As I said, it is a simple book, but it still took me another 30 years fully to understand its message. After all, knowing that you need to change your behavior and actually changing your behavior are two very different things. Thankfully, I finally gained the wisdom and got enough good advice along the way to make a conscious decision to be more congenial. This meant being less judgmental, being less rigid, being less self-involved, being less arrogant, freely handing out honest compliments, and sincerely believing with all my heart that everyone has something interesting to say if only you ask the right questions. The benefits of taking this new approach with both my family and my friends, because there were people who were good enough to be my friends, as well as with people whom I would have liked to have had as friends, the benefits have been staggering. As I said at the beginning of this podcast / sort of video, I am rich in loving family and good friends. This is no small thing. Not only does it make me happy and give me something for which to be thankful, as one 2010 study showed, People with strong social relationships increase their odds of survival over a set time period by 50%. In addition to helping us live longer, our friends make us healthier during that time. Well, I don't have friendships in a cold-blooded way just to get health and long life, and I'm pretty sure that if you do it cold-bloodedly, you're not going to get the benefits of health and long life from your friendships. I am grateful that I finally learned how to cultivate and enjoy friendships that not only bring joy to my life, but that confer such extraordinary benefits upon me. So this Thanksgiving, I am thankful for friends and family. I am also incredibly grateful that I live in America. I have mentioned time and again Keith Richburg's Out of America, A Black Man Confronts Africa. He was a Washington Post journalist who in the early 1990s was appointed as bureau chief for the Washington Post African Bureau. And upon his return, he wrote and then published in 1997 a book expressing his gratitude for those long ago ancestors who suffered the fear and humiliation and loss and pain of the transport across the Atlantic and slavery in America, so that he in the 20th century could be a black man in America and not in Africa. Because Africa is a continent riddled with misery, from nature to human. It's got it all, and he realized that there was no blessing greater than being born in America, no matter what color you are. Generally, then, I am grateful to be an American, but there are a few specifics, too. I am grateful to grow up in a country governed by a constitution dedicated to individual liberty. While we have fallen short of that goal many times, and in the mid-19th century actually fought a civil war with the loss of over 600,000 lives to right those wrongs, the Constitution is still our lodestar and establishes a clear realm of individual liberty, a sphere free from government interference. It is unlike anything else in the world, here or abroad, past or present. I am grateful every day for the United States Constitution and for the Bill of Rights that is an integral part of it. I am grateful to be a Jew in America. I am grateful that I have grown up in a society that, at least until recently, has been the most non-anti-Semitic society in the world outside of Israel itself. This is an extraordinary blessing. Jews have been chased from pillar to post for thousands of years, and in America, for the longest time, they found a safe home. It breaks my heart that in this, the second decade of the 21st century, anti-Semitism is on the rise again. I know that the Democrats like to point to the white supremacists, but they are a fringe totalitarian organization that have attached themselves to the Republican Party simply because African Americans have attached themselves to the Democrat Party. Let me emphasize that word, fringe. Sadly, anti-Semitism is rising in the very heart of the Democrat Party. This should concern everyone. Throughout history, those countries that have thrived have been those countries that, within the context of time and place, have given the greatest rights to their Jews. Now, well, I should say to their Jewish citizens. This doesn't mean, although biblically you could say it's true that being good to Jews is good for the country. What it means is that those same countries that are good to their Jewish citizens are good to their own citizens, and those are countries that thrive. As I think about my Thanksgiving meal, I am incredibly grateful to grow up in a country with a consistent abundance of food. Did you know that by the time of the American Revolution, colonial Americans were, on average, 3 inches taller than their European forebears and compatriots? Indeed, throughout the 18th and 19th centuries and into the early 20th century, European travelers consistently commented on the abundance of food available everywhere in America. Now, they didn't comment, as they do now, condemning Americans for their profligacy and greed and gluttony. These comments back in the old days were driven by admiration and envy. Everyone saw that when you traveled in America, there was food and lots of it. What this means is that the huge portion sizes we enjoy today and that progressives routinely lambaste as burdensome and greedy, I already used those words, greedy and gluttony and despoiling the environment and everything, they are a natural part of America. They are what has enabled American children over the centuries to grow taller, stronger, and healthier than children in just about anywhere else in the world, except perhaps Holland, in some parts of Africa where those very tall people live. The difference today, then, isn't the amount of food we eat. We are eating in the same wealth of food that we've always had. It's the amount of activity we get. In the day and age before cars and TVs and computers, Americans could get away with eating as much as we still do. Still, when one considers that for the greatest part of human history, scarcity and famine were the norm and were right up there with wars and disease, imminent and immediate causes of death always for all people, we are singularly blessed, and I am so grateful. I am grateful to live in a society rich in material goods. American enterprise and competition have made it so that every person in America can live as well as, if not much better than, a king in days of old, and that thought is not original to me. I believe it comes from Glenn Reynolds. I agree with it wholeheartedly. While blue state progressives may inveigh against Walmart as an evil enterprise that destroys small local businesses and floods America with cheap goods, the fact is that Walmart and stores like it have been an extraordinary blessing for the majority of American people. And the American people know it. In the San Francisco Bay Area, in which I lived until recently, there was no Walmart. Blue staters hate Walmart. As I mentioned, it's considered the evil empire and a haven for people who dress badly and look trashy. But when a Walmart finally opened in Oakland, California, back in 2005, over 10,000 people applied for jobs. By I'm having flashbacks to other centuries. By 2016, though, after Oakland had repeatedly raised its minimum wage, Walmart pulled out of the city. Now, it didn't claim that the problem was the minimum wage. I have been talking in word soup for days now. I'm not getting enough sleep, and since one of my kids is visiting me, I'm having way too much fun. And by the way, if you hear a buzzsaw noise in the background, it is my dog snoring away. I don't know if the microphone picks it up. Anyway, by 2016, Oakland had repeatedly raised its minimum wage, and Walmart pulled out. Keep in mind that Walmart was closing a lot of stores, including its Walmart Express stores, which just didn't take off. But this was a big Walmart. It closed. I couldn't find an article, but I recall hearing rumors at the time that one of the problems that was that Oakland was simply too crime-ridden. But don't trust me on that because I couldn't find any source for that memory. The citizens of Oakland were really upset. They should have been delighted that the evil empire was leaving, but in fact, according to a local ABC News report, you got shoppers such as Kayla Morris saying, "When I saw that in the news, I thought, oh no, I'll either have to go further out or don't go." Another shopper, Paula Cook, said, "Please don't close this store. I need this store. I need this store." And someone else named Francesca Cataldi said, "This is the busiest one. Everyone I know comes here," because otherwise you had to drive umpteen miles to get to the next Walmart in the Bay Area. The fact is that Walmart serves those Americans who can't afford the luxury of sweaters from hand-raised mohair goats or organic arugula or small batch brewed all-natural root beer. It's for the rest of us, the ones who have to take care of our money, but nevertheless want to enjoy the comforts and conveniences of life. Thank goodness for Walmart and the store like it. Incidentally, I used to count Target in that number, but I've disliked very much Target's decision to stop just selling its products and to start selling its virtue signaling values. I want to buy products, not a world viewpoint. I am grateful for America's extraordinarily beautiful natural environment. The picture you're seeing now is the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, which is one of the most gorgeous places I've ever seen. It was caused at the end of the Big Ice Age, a reminder that glaciers have retreated before, and it was not carved out over eons. Apparently, it was carved in a couple of weeks by this staggering flow of water following the melting of the glaciers. It is wonderful, and the fact that it is a national park is a part of America's wise stewardship of its natural heritage. We owe Teddy Roosevelt a debt for that. I think the federal government has gotten very greedy in grabbing land to preserve for everyone, but certainly there are some wonderful natural and historic places in America that are part of our heritage and should be preserved for the future. This is a picture, as many of you will recognize, of the Golden Gate Bridge in connecting San Francisco to Marin County. I like it because it shows a really relatively clear sky, and the bay is very clean. When I was growing up in the 60s, neither of those was true. We had come off a big industrial era, and we were blithely polluting away. And then we realized that was a bad idea. I hate pollution. I believe we are stewards of our environment, and it is our responsibility to keep it clean and healthy for our benefit and the benefit of our descendants. The fact that we can do so is a benefit of America's wealth and freedom. The reality is there is nothing dirtier than a communist country. Long after America had wised up and cleaned up, communist countries were still filthy. That's something I saw in communist Czechoslovakia in the mid-1980s. I don't have very strong memories of the pollution of the 1960s, but I'm sure it was very much like the pollution I saw in Czechoslovakia in 1987. It was revolting. The air was thick with particulate matter, and the horizon was yellowish brown. It was disgusting. It's still the case in communist countries. This is a picture I took in the Beijing airport 2.5-3 years ago. It looks blurry in the background. That is not blurriness. That is smog. The air quality in Beijing is so poor that the inside of the airport is smoggy. It's even worse outside. This is a picture I took in the middle of the day, not a foggy day, in Tiananmen Square. This is smog the way it used to be in LA in 1965. What changed is the technological innovation of a free people coming up with the means to avoid pollution, to have cars and factories burn cleaner, and the wealth, real free market wealth, not the oligarchic kind, to put that innovation into effect. We are blessed that we breathe clean air and drink clean water. Okay, those of you who pay attention to the news know that Trump tweeted this out today. And I love the sense of humor of Trump that tweets this out. No, he's not delusional that he thinks he has this kind of body, but he is right that he is a fighter. I won't lie, I love Trump and am deeply grateful for his presidency. I love that he puts America first. And to those who claim that's America first is a Hitler-esque point of view, America first is entirely different from saying, today Washington, D.C., tomorrow the world. Like George Washington before him, Trump believes that his job as president is to eschew foreign entanglements unless they benefit America, and to put American domestic interests, the economy, national security, individual liberty, ahead of the interests of people from other nations. That's not the same as wishing to destroy or control people of other nations. He just knows that he's America's president, not some other country's president. I love it that Trump is trying to reinstate the rule of law, especially when it comes to enforcing the border. If you have no border, you have no country. Moreover, as Milton Friedman wisely remarked, you can't have a welfare system and an open border at the same time. While we're not fully a socialist welfare state, we are a country of extraordinarily generous public welfare, and you can see what happens when you give people from anywhere in the world free stuff. I love it that despite all Democrat Party protestations, Trump is a colorblind president. He doesn't love white Americans or black Americans or brown Americans or any other color American. He loves Americans. The same holds true for his views about gender and sexual orientation. When he takes steps to benefit America, whether it's unleashing the economy or taming foreign countries that are hostile to us or making national security stronger, he's doing it for the benefit of everyone. And I think we're seeing that in the fact that unprecedented numbers of blacks and Hispanics are looking favorably upon a Republican president. I love it that Trump fights back. We had gentlemanly presidents when we had Bush Sr. or Jr. I didn't like Bush Sr. I was still a Democrat then, and I don't think I would have liked him even if I were a conservative. And Bush Jr. I could take or leave. We also had a gentlemanly, and as it turned out, utterly craven and backstabbing presidential candidate in Mitt Romney. They all failed. They were just slow-mo progressives. That's Bush 1 and 2. And Romney has come out of the closet as a friend of the Democrats. It's unclear whether he would have done anything to hold back the radical transformation of America into a non-constitutional, semi-socialist or fully socialist country. I don't like Romney right now. Trump, though, is a fighter. He is not polite. He is, as this picture shows, pugilistic, but he's my pugilistic. Also, he doesn't throw the first punch. However, if you attack him, his values, his family, or America and traditional, constitutional, free market, liberty-oriented, colorblind American values, he will counterpunch again and again and again until he wins. I like that in a leader. I love it that Trump is a happy warrior. As I noted above, or earlier, I think say above because I tend to think still in terms of writing. As I noted earlier, Trump tweeted out this picture as a happy joke. He enjoys tweaking himself. He enjoys making his supporters laugh, and he especially enjoys the fact that his opponents, whether Democrats or never Trumpers, have absolutely no sense of humor and fall down on the floor in foaming fits, kicking their feet and screaming when they see things like that, like this picture, instead of laughing along with the rest of us. I love it that Trump believes that American taxpayer money should be spent for American taxpayers and not for other nations, especially highly corrupt ones. When it comes to the Ukraine push for impeachment, the Democrat narrative doesn't touch me at all. What I see is a president who has, in private life since the 1970s, been railing against sending American money abroad, especially to corrupt countries where it doesn't do what it's meant to do. It's just virtue signaling on Congress's behalf, using taxpayers' money, and it ends up in the hands of oligarchs without making any substantive change in the country itself. I love it that Trump took a stand against that, and that he's been putting pressure on Zelensky to deal with corruption, including corruption flowing from our own former vice president. Corruption is corruption. If it were a former Republican vice president, I flatter myself that I would feel exactly the same. I love it that Trump supports Israel, a tiny island of liberal democracy routinely attacked by genocidal religious fanatics. Trump understands that Israel is America's staunchest ally, ally. Let's try that. It's not an ally, although it's in a little corner of the world, but ally. And that Israel's enemies are also America's enemies. Whether Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, or any of the other nations and non-governmental terrorist organizations enthralled to a religion that demands world domination and the forced conversion, enslavement, or death of anyone unlucky enough to be in its path. All of those are enemies of Israel. All of those are enemies of America. We are not throwing money away when we help Israel out, because we are helping ourselves out as well, especially in the area of weaponry, because Israel works very closely with America to improve the things America invents. I love it that Trump believes that the money Americans earn is theirs and not merely a temporary loan from the IRS. He has done a stinking, lousy, rotten job reining in the federal budget, but I forgive him that, given that the Democrats have refused to allow him to govern for the first 3 years of his 4-year term. Considering the constant barrage aimed at him, and the resistance and the opposition and the insults and the investigations and the impeachments, he's done a remarkable job accomplishing as much as he has. I love it that Trump believes campaign promises are something to be kept rather than something to be reneged upon. This is especially true because I like the promises upon which Trump campaigned. And I love it that Trump, working with Mitch McConnell, is doing his damnedest to place on the federal bench judges who believe that they are bound by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, replacing those judges who believe that their progressive ideology vests in them some higher wisdom that allows them to make it up as they go along. I am incredibly grateful that the American people, in their infinite wisdom, elected Donald Trump as our president. I hope that in 2020, they not only re-elect him, but that they give him a Congress that is happy to work with him. I love these old Thanksgiving cards. This is obviously from the early 20th or late 19th century. The turkey, the flag, the happy, somewhat manic-looking children, all of it says to me, Happy Thanksgiving. So from me to you, a very happy Thanksgiving 2019. We in America are truly blessed, and it's wonderful that we have a day on which to take stock of those blessings. Until next time, Killer and I say goodbye.